Aside from trolls in your ranked games, you might be wondering where Torbjorn and Symmetra fit into high-level competitive play and how they can be utilized to win games. In this video, we're going to talk about how the Boston Uprising use builders like Torbjorn and Symmetra to counter and win against the Florida Mayhem. To start off, we need to try and understand Boston's motives for running these heroes and what value they provide to the team or in countering the enemy team. Brawl composition is known for a fast and aggressive playstyle, focusing on overwhelming the enemy composition with close range damage backed up with powerful AoE heals and survivability. One of the weaknesses of Brawl is that to be effective you need to be able to reach your opponent. This is where Symmetra comes in. Symmetra's teleport essentially upgrades the mobility of the Brawl composition, giving it the ability to close long distances, cut out key choke points or lengthy rotations, and even disengage unfavourable fights. In this example, I'm37 uses the teleporter to bypass Slime, who is looking to boop the advancing Boston players into the pit. Another example here shows Boston using the teleporter to bypass this key choke point and catch Florida unprepared, giving them a really great start to this fight. In this final example, we see I'm37 place the teleporter pre-fight to allow the vulnerable targets of Boston to disengage away from Florida's dive, minimizing the risk. After a well-placed wall from Valentine, Boston realized the dive threat has been thwarted and switched their tempo to aggression. Moving on to her turrets, these are great to establish a strong defense on the key positions of the map. Turrets should be spread and positioned high up, making them more inconvenient for Florida to destroy. One thing Boston do particularly well is identifying key positions on the map which they want to control. This area of Nepal's Sanctum provides good sightlines on and around the point, has solid natural cover to increase survivability for Boston, and more importantly is a close range area, meaning all of Boston's close range damage will find value. Florida struggled to break through Boston's defense until a primal rage from OGE knocked I'm37 off the map, followed up by a deadly Death Blossom on the back of Yaki to finally flip the point.
Teleport to the back. Oh, that's beautiful. Taking down I'm37 and Myunbong. There we go, that's a response.
However, Florida are not out of the swamp yet. This is where we start to see Boston's swap system unfold. Valentine switches onto the Torbjorn and I'm37 moves onto the Reaper, giving the Uprising an incredible amount of close range DPS. Additionally, we see Faith swap from the Lucio onto the Brigitte, sacrificing mobility and sustain for increased peel and survivability with the rally. Can you see why they picked Torbjorn? Pause the video and leave me 2 reasons in the comments. Florida's dive composition is effectively a rush composition designed to burst down targets with a well-placed hack onto the Baptiste, denying his immortality field. With the correct turret placement, this makes BQB's job significantly harder as the turret interrupts his hack if in line of sight. Without the hack, the immortality field completely denies the threat of Florida's burst. This, combined with the sheer close range damage and survivability of Boston, makes them a very scary composition to dive. Boston's whole game plan is as follows: bait and survive the initial dive from Florida, then capitalize on the lack of shields and defenses with their heavy close range DPS as Florida tries to disengage away. To bait Florida's dive, they send Punk to pressure the point and force Florida to make a move. BQB just manages to find line of sight for hack onto Myunbong and Florida execute their dive, engaging with their coalescence. Boston's target focus is typically on the tanks of Florida. This is because the DPS line of Boston is most effective at tank busting. Torbjorn's overload fits well into the win condition, giving him 100 armor and making him very difficult for Florida's divers to kill. It also increases his alternate fire rate for shredding through those tanks. Now that they have dealt with the dive from Florida, their mission is now to chase down and pick off the weak and split members and take over map control. The one constant throughout the series is that Valentine's turret is used to defend Myunbong's position, denying Sombra hacks and allowing Myunbong to provide heals and drones to his teammates at any time, allowing them to take the map control. The final piece of the puzzle is the Molten Core. Valentine uses it to deny and deter Florida from touching the point during overtime. This ability works incredibly well for clearing areas like the objective, but it can also be used defensively to deter and negate initial dives from Florida. After successfully pushing back the Mayhem, Valentine takes a seat and smacks that turret. Since Uprising now have a read on what Mayhem prefers to play, they roll out on their counter composition with the same strategy in mind. Valentine places the turret in a position where Boston can kite back to, and where the turret will deny hacks onto Myungbong. BQB sees the turret position and tries to find another angle to pressure and look for hacks, but this is exactly what Boston wants. Boston put all of their target focus into OGE, limiting Florida's frontline pressure. Stan1 sees that OGE is under pressure and stands with his shield to block the Mori heals so that his team can secure the kill. With a one-player advantage, Boston push the issue and get the point cap. Valentine moves his turret position forward more aggressively, and again they force Mayhem to dive. One of the other things that Boston was so effective in doing throughout the series was denying Mayhem's key win conditions, EMP. EMP can be a devastating ultimate, especially if you're playing in a composition like Brawl, which relies heavily on positioning close together. But Boston always has an answer. It's last fight and Boston only has one ultimate available to the 4 of the Mayhem, meaning that they are at a massive ult disadvantage and need to do something miraculous to win this fight. Florida hard engaged with the beat, focusing on I'm37's McCree. However, to negate the impact of EMP, Boston has spread out, meaning the members who are not hit with the EMP can use their abilities to support their hacked teammates. Punk, who watches Florida engage, uses his D.Va bomb as a defensive to put pressure on the divers from Florida, forcing them either to disperse or die to the D.Va bomb. Faith also played a pivotal role, barely avoiding the EMP and managing to shield bash OGE, preventing his escape from the bomb. This planning and foresight from Boston allowed them to win a fight that on paper really shouldn't have been won, and just shows you how prepared Boston were for everything Florida had to throw at them. Overall, Boston were one step ahead of Florida in every aspect, strategically with their composition and swap system, as well as in-game on a fight-by-fight basis being prepared for whatever Florida had to throw at them. Credit to the coaching staff and players of Boston, as this game was a real pleasure to watch. If you enjoyed this video and would like to help me get this content out to others, like the video and share with your friends. To support me further, go ahead and visit my Patreon account where I upload individual and team coaching VODs from my paid clients. You can also vote on content ideas for the future to decide on what kind of content you would like to see on the channel. Thank you for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.